Two lovers from rival Yakuza families risk everything for a forbidden romance, but every secret meeting could be their last. Betrayal, bloodshed, and a stormy city harbor a love that might not survive the night. Will their hearts survive the war, or will love be written in blood and rain? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to follow this gripping saga. The rain had been falling over Kobe for 3 straight nights. It ran down neon signs like tears on glass, pooling in the cracked pavements of the harbor district, where the smell of salt and steel lingered like ghosts of ships long gone. The thunder rolled low across the bay, a quiet warning from the gods that blood would be spilled before dawn. Ren Arakawa stood beneath a half-broken awning, cigarette burning between his fingers, watching the world through a curtain of rain. His tailored black coat was damp around the collar, but he didn't move. He liked the rain. It washed away noise, and for a few moments even a man like him could pretend he was clean. Behind him, 2 men in dark suits waited. "Boss," one said softly. "The Kurosawa shipment just docked. You sure you want to handle this alone?" Ren's lips curved slightly, a shadow of a smile. "I'm not here to handle it. I'm here to watch." The Kurosawa syndicate, new blood, reckless, stupid enough to challenge his family's hold on the city. Ren didn't need to make a move. He only needed to remind them who ran Kobe's underbelly. He crushed the cigarette under his shoe, stepped out into the rain and walked toward the docks. The port was almost empty except for the hum of engines and the faint glow of a rusted crane swinging overhead. Crates marked in foreign lettering sat stacked by the water. Men moved in the shadows, loading, watching, pretending not to see him. Ren's eyes caught movement. A young man, broad-shouldered and soaked to the bone, shouting orders to a group of dockhands. His voice cut through the storm, raw and defiant. That was the first time Ren saw Riku Kurosawa. Riku wasn't supposed to be beautiful. He was supposed to be another thug, another nameless pawn in the Kurosawa chain. But there was something about him. The wet hair plastered to his forehead, the vein pulsing in his throat as he yelled, the fire in his eyes that refused to dim even under the rain. He looked alive, untamed, dangerous in a way Ren couldn't name. Ren stayed still, hidden beneath the shadow of a crane, watching. Then everything went wrong. A gunshot split the air, sharp, cold, final. Screams followed, shouts echoing off the metal containers. Someone yelled, "Arakawa!" and chaos erupted. Men scattered. Riku ducked behind a crate, pulling a pistol from his waistband. Ren didn't move. He was already calculating angles, targets, escape paths. He saw 2 of his men take cover, one bleeding near the waterline. Then another shot rang out. Riku gasped, clutching his side. The bullet had caught him just beneath the ribs. He stumbled backward, eyes wide with shock. The rain swallowed everything after that. Ren found him near the edge of the pier, one hand pressed against his wound, breath coming in sharp bursts. He was too proud to cry out, too stubborn to fall. "You should have stayed home," Ren said quietly. Riku turned, eyes narrowing. You're Arakawa." "Ren," he corrected, kneeling beside him. "And you're bleeding all over my shoes." Riku tried to shove him away, but his strength faltered. "Don't touch me." Ren sighed. "You'll die if I don't. Maybe that's better than owing you anything." Ren looked at him for a long moment, the defiance, the tremor in his voice, the way his blood mixed with rainwater on the dock like ink in water. "Maybe," Ren said. "But not tonight." Without waiting for permission, he lifted Riku over his shoulder, ignoring the curses that followed, and disappeared into the storm. Ren's apartment was on the upper floor of an old building overlooking the bay, minimalist, immaculate, cold. The kind of place where every object had its purpose and none of them involved comfort. He laid Riku on the couch and peeled his wet shirt open. The bullet had grazed him, painful but not fatal. Ren cleaned the wound with steady hands, ignoring the younger man's glare. "You're too calm for someone helping their enemy," Riku muttered. Ren didn't look up. "I don't see an enemy. Just a fool who doesn't know when to duck." "That fool could kill you." Ren finally met his gaze. "Could you?" Silence. Outside, the rain hammered against the windows, the sound filling the space between them. Riku looked away first. "Why save me?" he asked softly. Ren leaned back in his chair, lighting another cigarette. The match's flame flickered against the darkness. "Maybe I wanted to see what kind of man the Kurosawas are sending these days." "And?" Ren exhaled smoke, eyes half-lidded. "You don't fit the mold." Riku frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you have eyes that still believe in something. That's dangerous in this world." The room fell quiet again. The only sound was the storm, relentless and alive. Riku's breath was uneven. He hated the way Ren's voice felt, smooth, low, like velvet dragged across a blade. He hated the way this man's presence filled the room, calm but suffocating. "You talk too much," Riku said finally. Ren smiled faintly. "And you bleed too easily." For a moment they just stared at each other. Rain outside, thunder above, tension coiling in the air like smoke. Something unspoken moved between them. It wasn't trust. It wasn't exactly hatred either. It was curiosity, dark and electric. Riku shifted, wincing. "You should let me go." "Into the rain?" Ren asked. "I can take care of myself." "I'm sure you can. But humor me. Stay until morning." Riku's eyes flicked to the window. The storm showed no sign of ending. He sighed and leaned back against the couch. "Fine. But if I wake up in chains?" "You won't," Ren interrupted. "I don't chain what I want to understand." Riku froze. His pulse jumped. He told himself it was the blood loss, not the way those words sounded. Ren stubbed out his cigarette, stood and walked to the window. His reflection merged with the city lights, sharp suit, tired eyes, a ghost painted in neon. Riku watched him in silence, unable to look away. There was something terrifying about this man, not his power, not his name, but the stillness beneath it. Ren Arakawa looked like someone who had already given up everything worth living for, and that made him unpredictable. "Your people will be looking for you," Ren said quietly. "And yours. They know better than to ask questions." Riku smirked weakly. "Must be nice having dogs that don't bark." Ren turned his head, a ghost of amusement flickering in his eyes. "Only if you enjoy silence." Their gazes locked again, two men from opposite worlds standing on the same line drawn in blood. Hours passed. The rain softened to a whisper. Riku dozed off, exhaustion dragging him under. Ren watched him from across the room, studying the curve of his jaw, the faint scar along his collarbone, the way his hand twitched in his sleep like he was still fighting something unseen. He didn't understand why he cared. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe something else, something he didn't want to name. When Riku stirred, eyes half open, Ren spoke softly. "You'll be safe here till morning. After that, you disappear. Don't make me regret it." Riku's lips curved in a faint, defiant smile. "You already will." By dawn the rain had stopped. The city glowed gold and gray, steam rising from the wet streets. Riku stood at the window, shirt unbuttoned, hair damp, staring at the harbor. He didn't turn when Ren entered. "So this is how the great Arakawa heir lives," he said quietly. "Like a ghost." Ren tilted his head. "Better than living like prey." "I'm neither," Riku replied. "I'm a survivor." Their eyes met again and something unspoken passed. Admiration, challenge, warning. Ren stepped closer, slow, deliberate. "Stay away from the docks for a few days," he said. "Your clan's stirring trouble. You think you can order me around?" "I think you'll listen." Riku's jaw clenched. "Why do you care?" Ren's answer was a whisper, almost lost to the wind. "Because I don't like seeing beautiful things destroyed too soon." Riku blinked, taken aback. Before he could reply, Ren brushed past him, opened the door and said without looking back, "Go before I change my mind." Riku hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then walked out into the early morning light. The door closed softly behind him. Ren stood there for a long time after, listening to the fading echo of footsteps on wet pavement. He didn't know what to call what had just begun, a mistake maybe or a premonition. But as he looked out over the bay, the clouds gathering once more, he knew one thing for certain. The rain would return. And when it did, so would he. The rain returned 3 nights later. It always did in Kobe. The sky opened like an old wound, and the city bled light, red, gold, blue, into the wet streets. Neon signs flickered in the puddles, trembling each time thunder whispered across the bay. Ren Arakawa stood outside a tea house in Nankinmachi, coat collar turned up, cigarette smoldering between his lips. He told himself he wasn't waiting for anyone. But every few seconds, his eyes drifted toward the corner of the street where the lanterns swung in the wind. He told himself it was coincidence, that he happened to be there, that the rain had led him, that it wasn't about the boy from the docks. But the truth was simpler. He couldn't stop thinking about him. The sound of hurried footsteps broke his reverie. Riku emerged from the fog, hood half drawn, rain streaking down his face. He looked both cautious and defiant, the way stray cats look before deciding whether to bite or stay. Ren's mouth curved faintly. "You're late." Riku's reply was sharp. "I wasn't planning to come." "And yet," Ren said, flicking ash into the street, "you did." Riku brushed past him into the narrow alley beside the tea house, lit by a single red lantern. You said you wanted to talk, he said, voice low. Say it then. Ren followed, hands in his pockets. I wanted to see if you survived. That's it. Ren's gaze held his. For now. They stood close, too close, the rain hissing between them as if trying to cool the air. Riku's heart beat faster than he liked. You shouldn't have contacted me. If my boss finds out, then don't tell him. Riku laughed softly, bitterly. You think this is a game? Ren's voice was calm. No. But I think you want to see how far we can play it. The silence that followed was heavy, intimate. The rain had a rhythm now, soft but constant, like an unseen metronome marking their breaths. Riku exhaled slowly. You saved me once. That doesn't make us friends. Ren tilted his head. Friends? I don't recall asking for that. Then what do you want? Ren's answer was quiet. I'm still figuring that out. Riku looked away. He should have left. Every instinct told him this man was a storm in disguise, calm on the surface, ruin underneath. But something about Ren's stillness drew him in. The way his eyes softened when he spoke. The way his voice seemed to know exactly how to touch the space between calm and danger. They met again 2 nights later. Then again the next week. Always when it rained. Always in secret. Their meeting places changed like shadows. The edge of a parking lot, a half-abandoned shrine, a small ramen stand that stayed open until dawn. Ren spoke little about himself, but when he did, his words carried the weight of years. Riku learned that Ren had been groomed to inherit everything, wealth, control, power, and hated every part of it. Riku, in turn, confessed that he'd never wanted to join his family's business either. He'd dreamed of being a boxer once, back before debts and loyalty chained him to the syndicate. Guess we're both prisoners, Riku said one night, flipping his lighter open. Except you fight, Ren murmured. I endure. Same thing. Ren smiled faintly. No. You still believe you can escape. And you? I stopped believing long ago. The words hung between them like smoke, visible, poisonous, real. One evening, Ren found Riku waiting for him under the roof of a shuttered record store. He had no umbrella. His clothes clung to him, dark hair plastered to his forehead. You'll catch a cold, Ren said, stepping closer. Riku smirked. You'll just come and rescue me again, won't you? Ren froze. There it was, that spark of defiance that drew him in every time. He could feel it in his chest, a pull he couldn't reason away. Riku looked up at him, eyes reflecting streetlight and rain. You ever get tired of pretending you don't care? Ren's voice was barely a whisper. Every day. The moment lingered, heavy, fragile, dangerous. A car passed and its headlights brushed their faces for an instant. It felt like exposure, like standing on a cliff's edge. Then Riku stepped closer. Close enough that Ren could smell the faint trace of cigarette smoke and rain on his skin. Tell me something real, Riku said. Something that's yours. Ren's throat tightened. He'd spent a lifetime keeping secrets, even from himself. But somehow, under this quiet rain, he found one small truth. I hate the rain, he said. Riku blinked. You hate it. Ren nodded slowly. It always smells like endings. Riku looked at him, really looked, and for the first time saw not the composed air of the Arakawa clan, but a man tired of pretending not to feel. Then maybe, Riku said softly, we can change what it means. And he reached for him. Not in hunger, not in desperation, but like a man reaching through smoke, afraid the illusion might vanish if he hesitated. Ren didn't move. He simply let the distance close, his hand finding the edge of Riku's sleeve. Their fingers brushed, light, uncertain, but in that simple touch something broke open inside them both. The city faded. The storm softened. And for one impossible heartbeat, it was quiet. Later they found refuge in a small apartment above an old bakery. It was barely furnished, a table, 2 chairs, a thin futon near the window. But it was theirs in a way nothing else in their worlds could be. They met there whenever the rain came, and the city blurred into a wash of silver light. They spoke little. They didn't need to. Every silence between them said what words could not. Ren would bring Riku books, poetry, calligraphy manuals, fragments of a life outside the underworld. Riku would tease him for his formality, for the way he read lines like confessions. But when Ren smiled, truly smiled, the teasing stopped. It was too rare, too fragile to disturb. Sometimes Ren would sit at the table, writing kanji with quiet precision. Riku would watch, fascinated by the elegance of his movements. What does that one mean? He asked once, pointing to a single character. Ren looked up. It means forgiveness. Riku tilted his head. For you or for me? Ren's eyes darkened. For both of us, maybe. If such a thing exists. The rain outside answered for them, steady and endless. It couldn't last. They both knew it. Every time they met, it felt like stealing air from a world that wanted them to suffocate. One night, the storm came harder than usual, wind howling through the streets, lightning flashing over the bay. Ren was late. Riku paced the small room, checking his phone, heart pounding with a worry he didn't want to name. When the door finally opened, Ren stepped in soaked to the bone. His expression was unreadable. Ren, Riku breathed, relief breaking through irritation. Where have you been? Ren didn't answer at first. He just stood there, dripping water onto the floor, eyes dark with something colder than rain. Then he said it. Your clan knows. Riku froze. What? They know you've been meeting someone. They don't know who yet. But they're watching. Riku's breath caught. How do you? I heard it from my father's informant. Ren cut in. They suspect you're feeding information. Riku's pulse hammered in his ears. And what do you believe? Ren looked at him for a long time. The rain beat harder against the window. I don't know what I believe anymore. The words hurt more than accusation would have. Riku stepped closer, chest rising and falling with anger and fear. After everything, you think I'd sell you out? I didn't say that. You didn't need to. Lightning flashed. Their shadows collided on the wall, one sharp, one trembling. Ren reached out, grabbing his wrist. Riku. Don't, he hissed. You don't get to say my name like that if you don't trust me. Their eyes met, storm meeting storm. For a heartbeat, the air was alive with everything unsaid. Then, through the thunder, came the sound of footsteps in the stairwell. Heavy. Fast. Riku's eyes widened. Ren moved instantly, reaching for the small gun hidden under the table. Go, he whispered. Out the back window. Who is it? Ren's jaw tightened. Kurosawa men. They followed me. Riku froze. You brought them here? No, they must have tracked my car. Go. But it was too late. The door shuddered under a blow. A voice shouted outside, muffled by the storm. Riku Kurosawa. We know you're in there. Ren met his eyes one last time. Run. Riku hesitated, just long enough for Ren to step forward, gun raised, jaw set. Thunder split the sky. The door cracked open. And in that moment, between lightning and breath, the line between love and betrayal finally blurred. The city seemed quieter after the storm, but Ren knew better. Kobe never truly slept. Neon reflections glimmered on puddles like shards of broken glass, and the alleyways hummed with whispers of loyalty and fear. Even now, somewhere behind closed doors, the Arakawa and Kurosawa families were plotting, scheming, calculating. Ren walked the streets alone, coat collar turned up against the drizzle, hands shoved deep into his pockets. The rain had left a fine mist in the air, the scent of wet asphalt and iron lingering like memory. He tried to breathe, but the weight in his chest refused to lift. It wasn't the storm. It wasn't the clans. It was him, Riku. The past weeks haunted him like a shadow. Every secret meeting, every whispered word, every fleeting touch replayed in his mind like fragments of a life he had no right to want. Ren had thought he could contain it, that he could feel without consequence. But now the consequences were closing in. A message had arrived that morning. One word, written in code only he could understand. Riku. Ren's pulse had quickened. He had feared this, the moment when love became liability. He found Riku near the harbor, leaning against a shipping container. His wet hair stuck to his forehead, and his shoulders were tense, rigid like a warrior expecting an ambush. You came, Riku said softly, voice low. Ren didn't answer immediately. He just studied him, the way his coat clung to him, the faint tremor in his jaw, the set of his hands. You shouldn't be here, Ren said finally. Riku's eyes narrowed. And yet I am. You didn't think you could keep me hidden from the world, did you? Ren inhaled, the cool mist filling his lungs. I thought I could keep us contained. Riku's expression shifted. Hurt, disbelief, and something sharper, something raw. Contained? You call this, us contained? Ren's throat tightened. Words failed him. He had rehearsed 100 things to say, caution, patience, control, but none of them reached this. Instead, he stepped closer, the damp mist curling around him. We were supposed to be careful, he said. We were supposed to hide to survive. And you? Riku snapped, taking a step back. Did you follow your own rules, or were you just playing me? Ren flinched, though he did not move. The accusation cut deeper than any knife could. I never, he began. You never what? Riku's voice was trembling now, a mix of anger and fear. Loved me? Trusted me? Or were you just enjoying the chase? The words hung between them like shards. The harbor was silent except for the drip of water from a nearby crane, echoing like a metronome of judgment. Rin shook his head. I trusted you. More than anyone. More than myself. But you know what you are, Riku. And so do I. We're from different worlds, different bloodlines, different wars. Nothing we have, nothing we can have, is safe. Riku laughed, bitter, hollow. Safe, he echoed. Safe is a luxury we've never had. And you're telling me that you care about safety now? About consequences? Where was that when you were saving me? When you brought me here? Ren's hands curled into fists at his sides. He wanted to touch him, to pull him close and make everything right, but he didn't. Not now. Not when words were still weapons. I did it because I couldn't let you die, Ren said quietly. Not because I thought anything else would matter. Riku's chest heaved. Do you hear yourself? You say one thing, then stand there telling me we can't be together. That we can't trust. That it's impossible. You think that makes it easier? That justifies it. Ren's eyes softened, but he did not move closer. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it can be fixed. I only know that every choice I make could ruin you, could ruin me, could destroy everything we've stolen from the world to have. Riku stared at him, the rain plastering his hair, the wet coat clinging to his frame, the eyes that were at once warm and terrible. Then maybe, Riku whispered, voice breaking, we shouldn't have tried at all. Ren's jaw tightened. Pain, cold and sharp, shot through his chest. He had known this moment would come. He had prepared for it in silence. And yet, it hurt more than he imagined. No, he said finally. We tried. That counts for something. Even if it's not enough. Riku's eyes glistened, the neon light reflecting in the tear tracks on his cheeks. I wanted it to be enough. So did I, Ren admitted. More than anything. They stood there, drenched, separated by just a few inches of air, yet worlds apart. The rain fell around them, relentless, drenching everything, washing the harbor clean of footprints and blood and the sins of the night. Riku finally broke the silence. Then, maybe it's time we face the truth. That this, us, was never meant to survive. Ren looked away towards the water. He saw the ripples in the harbor, black and silver, endless and untouchable. He imagined letting Riku go, letting him leave and disappear into the misty streets, safe, alive, unbroken. But his heart protested violently. I can't, he said softly. Riku's lips pressed into a thin line. Then you'll stay here with me, and live a lie. Pretending the world isn't coming for us. I'd rather lie, Ren said, voice trembling, than watch you die because of me. For a long moment they simply looked at each other. The rain soaked through their clothes, chilled their skin, and yet the warmth between them burned brighter than any storm. Finally Riku stepped back, slowly, deliberately. His hands curled into fists at his sides. I can't stay, he said. I won't stay. Not if it means living in your shadow, waiting for the next disaster. Ren's mouth opened to protest, to beg, to argue, but no words came. His throat felt tight, and the silence between them became a canyon. Riku turned, shoulders hunched against the drizzle. Goodbye, Ren. The sound of his footsteps echoed against the metal crates as he walked away, fading into the misty harbor night. Ren stayed where he was, hands empty, body trembling, staring at the trail Riku left behind. The neon reflections danced on the puddles like fire, beautiful, fleeting, impossible to hold. He wanted to call him back, to run after him, to beg him to stay. But he didn't. He only let the rain fall. Only let the harbor swallow the sound of his own heartbreak. Only let the night carry away the boy who had become the center of his world. Rin whispered into the mist, though he knew Riku would not hear him. I'll find you. Somehow. I'll find you before the world does. And yet he knew deep down that promises made in the rain were fragile, like paper, like hearts, like love between two clans locked in blood. The harbor was silent once more, save for the drip of rain from the cranes, the soft lap of water against steel, and the echo of a love that could not survive the storm. The rain had returned in sheets, drowning Kobe in silver and shadow. The city's neon reflected in puddles like fractured dreams, flickering in rhythm with the distant wail of sirens. Somewhere across the harbor, thunder rolled low, a warning for those who dared stand in the path of fate. Rin Arakawa moved through the streets with calculated calm, coat collar up, hood clinging wet to his hair. His breath came in quiet, measured pulls. He had already known the Arakawa and Kurosawa families were heading for war. It was no longer whispers or threats, but fire and blood stalking the alleys. And now, the one person he couldn't afford to lose was walking directly into it. Riku. Riku Kurosawa had been on the run since their last meeting. He avoided the streets they had once walked together, ducked under awnings and hid in narrow alleyways. Every step he took was a gamble, every heartbeat a countdown. He had not seen Rin since that night by the harbor, but he could still feel him in the rain, watching, calculating, waiting. And despite everything, despite the clans, despite betrayal, despite the impossibility of love between them, Riku found himself drawn back to the places they had shared, haunted by the memory of warmth in the cold, of hands that fit like answers to questions he didn't dare ask aloud. He shouldn't have returned. The explosion came first. A shipment of crates at the docks erupted in fire, flames reflecting off the water, smoke curling into the stormy night. Screams echoed through the harbor, blending with thunder. The Kurosawa and Arakawa clans collided, chaos, shouting, fists and steel, a war neither side would walk away from. Riku froze, heart hammering. Among the chaos he spotted Rin, moving like a ghost, calm and precise, deflecting attacks, guiding allies, standing as though the storm itself bent to his will. Ren's eyes found him instantly. For a heartbeat, the world contracted to just the two of them. The fire, the rain, the ruined harbor fading into insignificance. Riku felt the old pull, the impossible gravity of the man he loved. And then a bullet sliced through the night. Riku barely had time to react. He dove, hitting the wet pavement, mud and rain soaking through his coat. A shout echoed, and he realized his own family had cornered him. Misunderstanding, paranoia, fear. Rin was there in an instant, hand gripping his arm, dragging him back. "Run," he shouted. "I can't leave." Riku yelled, twisting to face him. "I won't." Ren's eyes softened, not in anger, not in reprimand, but in something older, fiercer, and more human than either of them could have anticipated. "Then stay," he said. "Stay and face this with me." "But no, if you fall, I will not forgive myself." Riku's chest heaved. "I don't care about forgiveness." Rin nodded, jaw set. "Then fight." The battle raged. Steel clashed, orders were shouted, and blood ran freely, mixing with rainwater on the asphalt. Riku moved beside Rin, dodging, blocking, defending, but it was not enough. Amid the chaos, a masked figure lunged toward Rin. Riku saw it too late. His voice caught in a scream. Rin fell. Riku was at his side in an instant, kneeling, hands trembling as he tried to stop the bleeding. His coat was soaked with rain and Ren's blood, the warmth of it shocking against his skin. "Stay with me," Riku said, voice breaking. "Please, don't leave me." Ren's lips curved in a faint, tired smile. "I can't promise forever," he whispered. "But I love you." Riku's chest ached. Don't say that. Not now." Ren reached for him, fingers brushing wet strands of hair from his forehead. His hand was shaking, but his eyes were steady, locked on Riku's. "I'll see you in another life," he murmured. The storm beat around them, relentless, echoing the beat of two hearts that had defied the world. Riku held him, arms tight, unwilling to let go, even as life slipped like water through his fingers. And then silence. Ren's body went limp. Riku's scream tore through the harbor, swallowed by thunder and rain. The city could not mourn with him. The clans could not pause. Only the storm remained, indifferent, drenching everything in a sorrowful baptism. Hours later, the rain softened. Dawn broke in gray and gold, spilling light over a city still trembling. Riku sat alone on the wet pavement near the edge of the harbor, hands gripping nothing, staring at the empty space beside him. Everything was gone. Rin, the warmth, the possibility, the stolen moments, gone. Riku's chest ached, emptiness swallowing him like tide water. He pressed a hand to his lips, whispering a name he couldn't hear. "Rin?" The harbor was quiet now, save for the soft lapping of water. The city had survived, but the two men who had briefly defied it had not. Riku stood slowly, rain dripping from his hair, and walked into the morning mist. His heart carried the weight of love and loss, memory and regret, the knowledge that some stories end not with resolution, but with the echo of what might have been. Weeks later, when the storm returned, no one could find Riku. Some said he had fled the city entirely. Others whispered that he wandered the coast at night, looking for a shadow that would never return. Ren's name became legend, a whisper among the underworld, not for power, not for ruthlessness, but for love. For the man he had tried to protect, even if it cost him everything. And somewhere in the endless rain, two hearts that had collided, burned, and bled together. One remembered, one mourning, carried their story. The sky wept over Kobe, relentless and indifferent, washing streets red and silver. The world moved on. But love, cruel and beautiful, remained written in blood and rain.